want to share a tip that my sister Jessa gave me. When we got married, she said her go-to is always do a load of dishes, put them in the dishwasher, run the dishwasher, no matter how big
The
or
life
small.
of Jana Duggar appeared to be a dream. The laughing of friends and family filled her cozy and welcoming house. She exuded stability and comfort in every aspect of her existence. She had the respect of everyone around her, a husband she trusted, and a life meticulously crafted with love and commitment. Nothing could appear more ideal to the outer world, but there was a mystery lurking beneath the surface. The man she had married and loved, Stephen Wissmann, harbored a secret longing, a heart subtly enthralled by Charlotte. Jana was unaware that although she thought they would have a wonderful life together, Stephen was thinking about other things. It seemed subtle at first. Tiny diversions, sporadic looks at his phone, and quiet periods of separation that Jana hardly noticed. She thought their relationship was unshakable and had complete faith in him. However, the appearance of flawlessness gradually started to reveal little fissures. Jana and Stephen kept making plans for her life, unaware of the storm that was coming. Hey guys, welcome to Vogue TV. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. She dreamed of shared dreams, family milestones, and years of happiness. However, the unseen thread that threatened to shatter the life Jana believed to be unbreakable was the shadow of Stephen's covert love for Charlotte, which hovered over everything. For the time being, the ideal illusion of her marriage persisted, but in the days ahead, Jana's entire world would be upended, and the life she had so fervently believed in would never be the same. It was getting more and more difficult to overlook the faults in Jana Duggar's apparently flawless existence. Her husband, Stephen Wissmann, had started acting differently. It was difficult to ignore the slight differences at first. His laughter was less frequent and his smiles were occasionally distant as he spent more time on his phone. Little justifications for late nights and mysterious absences began to mount, leaving Jana with a persistent sense of uneasiness. It was nothing, she persuaded herself at first. Stephen might have simply needed some space, or he might have been under stress from his job. Then came the whispers, bits and pieces of discussions with friends, casual remarks that stuck in her head. Someone had naively inquired, "Have you seen Stephen with Charlotte?" And the words kept coming back to Jana like an unshakable shadow. Clinging to trust, Jana attempted to ignore it. She thought about the years they had spent together, the vows they had made, and the love she thought he still had for her. However, skepticism had taken hold, and the slightest suggestion of a secret made her feet tremble. There was a tension in every look at Stephen that she had never experienced before. She saw how he surreptitiously checked his phone, how he appeared to be preoccupied at strange times, and the little bursts of distraction or guilt in his eyes. Every oblique clue was a hint of a reality she was not yet prepared to confront, one that would soon burst into her life with the weight of treachery that Jana's flawless facade started to seem flimsy as the seeds of doubt were sown. She still had the life she had created with Stephen, but it now shook on the brink of disclosure. The rumors of a secret would soon cease to be rumors and became the brutal fact that could not be disregarded. Jana Duggar would never forget the day she learned the truth. Subtle clues and silent suspicions suddenly burst into a reality she could no longer ignore. She had trusted Stephen Wissmann with her heart, but he had fallen in love with Charlotte. Through a harmless conversation that ended up becoming the life-changing revelation, Jana discovered the truth from a friend. She had trouble understanding the words at first. They were rejected by her thinking. Stephen's heart belonged to someone else, not to her. She had been living a double life of loyalty to appearances while secretly loving someone else, and the man she had centered her life around had been concealing his feelings. Shock gave way to incredulity, and incredulity to agony. Now, it felt like betrayal had poisoned every memory of happiness and every promise of eternity. In her mind, Jana relived innumerable moments, scrutinizing each touch, every whispered word, every gaze. What caused her to be so blind? How could Stephen conceal this from her, from their shared existence? She shuddered at the realization, both in grief and in the ensuing rage. The foundation she had so fully trusted had collapsed beneath her, and the ideal life she believed she had was a mirage. Stephen's covert affection for Charlotte had grown from a whisper to a deep wound in Jana's life. Jana realized then how much had been taken from her, not just a spouse, but a future she had dreamed of, one that was full of love, trust, and dreams. Uninvited and relentless, betrayal had infiltrated her world, forcing her to face a reality she had never thought possible, that the man she loved was moving on to someone else. Jana Duggar had some of the hardest days of her life after learning of Stephen's treachery. Every shared memory and every area of her house seemed to reverberate with the existence that was no longer hers. She felt alone and unmoored as rage mixed with grief and astonishment. Nothing could make up for the grief of losing the husband she had loved and trusted to Charlotte. Jana was aware that in order to move on, she would need to confront the practical aspects of her failed marriage. Once a representation of their love, the house she and Stephen had shared had turned into a reminder of betrayal. Sorrow weighed heavily on the walls that had once been filled with dreams and laughter. She agonizedly decided to sell the house after many hours of contemplation. In addition to being a financial move, it was also a symbolic one that allowed her to close a heartbreaking chapter in her life. The property sold for $80,000, which was a significant step toward taking back her life, but considerably less than its emotional worth. The burden of loss was felt with every item packed away and every key given to the new owners. But with each stride, Jana sensed a tiny, silent glimmer of fortitude forming within of her, a reminder that she could start over even in the darkest moments. Jana realized that her path was just getting started, even though Stephen and Charlotte were making progress. She gave herself permission to mourn, to experience the full extent of betrayal, and to respect the suffering caused by a lost love. However, she also understood that in order to heal, she needed to take action, and selling the house was the first step toward taking back control of her life and future. Jana started to see the glimmer of hope among broken trust and heartache. Although the agony was intense, it also served as a catalyst, forcing her to face reality, start over, and choose a completely different course that was her own. Stephen Wissmann had already made progress with Charlotte, as Jana Duggar was working to recover. After years of concealment, their relationship was suddenly public knowledge, and they were establishing a life together. On the surface, Stephen seemed to have found the joy he had been seeking, but to Jana, every second of their seeming bliss served as a stinging reminder of the betrayal she had experienced. It was terrible and odd to watch Stephen and Charlotte together. The years she had spent in her marriage and the life she had dreamed up for herself suddenly seemed like a faraway memory. Every little gesture, smile, and laugh they exchanged served as a reminder of the guy she had loved and lost. Jana felt a pain that appeared insurmountable because of the sharp contrast between their joy and her sadness. However, in the midst of the suffering, Jana started to face an unsettling reality. Stephen's decisions, albeit terrible, did not determine her value or her future. Instead of reflecting Jana's strength or character, his betrayal was his own, a reflection of his heart and his choices. She understood that even if he had gone on, she could take back her life. Jana's path to recovery was just getting started. She started to experiment with her freedom and found strength she wasn't entirely aware she had. The notion that she could start over on her own terms, free from deceit and betrayal, helped to lessen the anguish of witnessing Stephen with Charlotte. Jana knew she would persevere, even though Stephen had taken a different route. Despite the wounds, her heart was still able to love and hope. Additionally, Jana's story, one of bravery, tenacity, and the search for true happiness, was only starting to take shape while Stephen and Charlotte's journey went on. Jana Duggar had to deal with the silent fallout of betrayal, alone and devastated. The life she had envisioned seemed to have been swept away. The house had been sold, and Stephen was no longer there. She struggled with the mixture of grief, rage, and disbelief that threatened to overwhelm her as she roamed through recollections of what used to be for days. But gradually, a glimmer of resolve grew. Jana understood that although she could not change the past, she could influence the future. She took baby measures at first, like setting up her new place, getting back in touch with encouraging friends and family, and making time for the interests and goals she had set aside. Every little thing she did served as a reminder that she was resilient and that her life was determined by her response to betrayal rather than by it. Jana also considered the lessons she had learned from the incident. She understood that while pain might be a teacher, trust was valuable and brittle. She came to understand the value of personal limits and self-respect, as well as the necessity of having both patience and bravery to move forward. Even though Stephen's betrayal still hurt, Jana started to perceive the gaps in her sadness as opportunities for personal development. She found a quiet but unwavering resolve to take back her life, a strength she had not yet completely acknowledged. Every day was a step in the right direction, every moment a tiny triumph over the grief that had threatened to overwhelm her. Jana gradually started rebuilding her world by confronting the truth of her circumstances. She had not lost herself, even though she had lost a marriage. She also discovered the first signs of optimism for a life full of freedom, honesty, and the potential for new love on her own terms while she was trying to put the pieces back together. Jana Duggar learned that she was not alone even in her darkest moments as she dealt with the fallout from infidelity. Her family came together in steadfast support after being horrified and devastated by Stephen Wissmann's conduct. They served as her compass, offering consolation, direction, and the knowledge that she was loved without conditions. Jana was reminded that she was more than the suffering she endured through family get-togethers, late-night talks, and small gestures of kindness. Her will to recover was bolstered by every supportive remark and kind gesture, which gave her the fortitude to face every day with a fresh sense of purpose. Her parents' and siblings' presence assisted her in processing her loss by serving as a reminder that although she had lost her spouse, she had not lost her identity, her family, or her values. With their help, Jana also started to face the psychological wounds caused by betrayal. She freely expressed her disappointments and anxieties, letting herself be exposed in a secure environment. She found strength and comfort in her family's compassion and understanding, which enabled her to realize that love could endure in various ways even after betrayal, and that healing was achievable. As time went on, Jana's heartbreak became less heavy, and she became more certain that she could start over. Being surrounded by the Duggar family served as a reminder to her that perseverance was bolstered by the love and devotion of those who genuinely cared for her. Jana found that she could overcome betrayal by relying on her family. Their encouragement served as the cornerstone for her path to self-reliance and contentment, demonstrating that she was never really alone even in the face of the most devastating tragedy. As time went on, among the lingering ache of betrayal, Jana Duggar started to feel the first glimmerings of optimism. She had begun to take back her life, piece by piece, even if the heartache caused by Stephen Wissmann's actions was still very much there. Little triumphs occurred every day, times when she laughed once more, worked toward her objectives, or just felt content with herself. Jana found a strength she had not yet completely acknowledged. She came to see that neither her marriage nor the betrayal she had experienced defined who she was. She found empowerment in the independence she had previously taken for granted. She re-examined passions she had put aside, looked into fresh chances, and started to imagine a future she could control. Even if they were terrible, Jana had gained clarity from the lessons of betrayal. She now realized that self-respect was crucial, that love had to be honest and reciprocal, and that happiness could not be coerced. She turned sadness into determination by fortifying her sense of purpose with each step. Jana's journey was far from ended, even though Stephen and Charlotte had gone on. She was discovering satisfaction in her achievements and independence, and she was learning to accept the freedom that came with taking back her life. Her tenacity was demonstrated by every decision she made and every new course she took. Jana arose from the ashes of treachery and realized that she alone controlled her future. She had been polished by the agony, not broken. She also carried with her the resolute belief that she could find fulfillment, happiness, and love, all on her own terms as she went forward. Jana Duggar had experienced heartache, betrayal, and the death of the person she believed to be her acquaintance. She nevertheless started to have a better awareness of both the outside world and herself as a result of the suffering. In addition to leaving scars, The encounter with Stephen Wissmann and Charlotte had taught her priceless lessons that would influence the woman she was growing into. She discovered that love must always be based on honesty and respect for one another, and she realized how brittle trust is and how crucial it is to protect her heart. Jana came to see that even the strongest relationships may be upended by deceit, no matter how minor. More significantly, though, she found the inner fortitude to overcome it. Jana also accepted the strength of resilience via introspection. She understood that disappointment and betrayal were unavoidable aspects of the human experience, and that life would not always go as planned. However, these difficulties honed her rather than defining her. Every difficult event served as a reminder of her capacity for perseverance, adaptation, and personal development. Jana started concentrating on her happiness, family, and self-respect as the most important things in life. She realized she could make her own decisions, but Stephen had already made his. She learned from her experience that there is still hope, significance, and richness in life after heartbreak. Jana felt a peaceful confidence as she looked to the future. She was moving toward a life based on honesty and self-determination, rather than delusions, thanks to the lessons she had learned about trust, love, and her own strength. Although betrayal had been painful, it had also set her up for success in the future, where she would be completely self-aware and willing to pursue happiness on her own terms. Jana Duggar was on the cusp of a new chapter in her life following months of heartache, introspection, and recovery. She was deeply wounded by Stephen Wissmann's treachery and his decision to be with Charlotte, but she was also strengthened, wiser, and more determined as a result of those wounds. Jana bravely accepted her independence. She invested in her passions, worked toward her personal objectives, and surrounded herself with supportive family and friends. Every day proved to be evidence of her tenacity and her ability to bounce back from even the most severe betrayal. Her past suffering no longer characterized her. Rather, it served as the cornerstone for her future. Jana no longer felt constrained by the memories of lost love, even though they persisted. She realized that genuine happiness originated from within and was not influenced by the decisions made by others. She took back her life, her identity, and her sense of purpose with each stride she took ahead. The affection of the Duggar family served as a constant reminder that she was never really alone. Additionally, Jana had chosen her own path, one that was full of hope, self-respect, and authenticity, while Stephen and Charlotte had followed theirs. Once characterized by loss, heartache, and betrayal, Jana's journey now progresses toward rebirth. She had survived the most trying times in love and come out stronger, prepared to enjoy the pleasures and opportunities life still had to offer. Even though Jana Duggar's struggle was far from complete, she was no longer a victim of her circumstances. Standing up and anticipating a life of satisfaction, love, and happiness on her own terms, she was a woman in charge of her own fate. If you're looking for more Duggar family exclusive gossip, come back to Vogue TV for all your updates by guys.